I tell you what we're gonna do, right? I tell you what we're gonna do about this, right?
Mm,
You and I,
yeah,
we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna fucking record Joag, right? And
sure.
um, I'm gonna open this up, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna open us up,
Okay.
and I'm gonna open us up with a detective story. I want you to play detective for me today, Corrigan.
Okay.
Right?
All right. You know I
Listeners,
enjoy this.
yeah, listeners,
Let's do
don't
this.
don't think about that. Think about this, right? We're gonna um come with me, will you please, to Providence, Rhode Island. Will you please come with me?
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Now we didn't
I've
go
been
there,
there.
did
I've been
we?
there a time or two.
You've been there? Well,
Yeah.
describe it for me. If I'm, taking a jaunt along the fucking avenue in Providence, Rhode Island, what would I see? What's the vibe?
Lots of big houses.
Mhm.
Water.
Is it quite well to do?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. At least like parts of it are. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of uh lower income people in Rhode Island as well, but like Rhode Island's kind of known for being like a bit conservative and a bit wealthy and like some of
I
the
see.
like all the like really huge guys like the Vanderbilts and stuff like that, like they had homes out
I see.
there,
I
not
see.
necessarily Providence, I don't think, but like Rhode Island. So,
Okay. Well, if you were
bleh.
in Providence, Rhode Island, it's very possible that you might chance upon Steer House Nursing
Okay.
and Rehabilitation Center.
Sounds quaint.
Very possible you might. Steer House, it's a non-profit kind of nursing home, right?
Sure.
It provides palliative care, long-term care for dementia patients, Alzheimer's patients, other kind of terminal illnesses.
Mm.
Um, been around a long time. It's been around since the 1800s, established in the kind of late 1800s. It was opened as the Steer House Home for Aged Men.
Why is that funny?
It's just I can just picture the sign above the gate.
Okay.
You know what I mean? A huge wrought iron gate like Arkham Asylum. Steer
Okay.
House, home for
Fair.
aged men.
Can I ask a quick
Founded by,
question?
please.
Sorry, just before you go on, this is like a non sequitur, but it just made me think of something. Like, you know how we always say like any building in your town is probably older than this entire country, right?
Yes, yes. Well, maybe not Bicester, but I feel you.
Well,
Yeah,
sure, not Bicester. Bicester is a mall, but
yeah,
in Oxford, for
yeah,
example.
yeah.
However, I'm curious, like when it comes to how long like businesses and stuff like that have been around, are they usually older than ours, or are they pretty like because we have a lot of them that is like, yeah, this has been around since the 1800s or whatever, things like that. Like, is that do you have businesses that it's like this has been around since 1642 or whatever?
Oh, listen, there are for sure like ancient family businesses
Okay.
in the UK. I mean, I look, you're asking the wrong guy if you want any kind of educated or
Sure.
informed answer to this.
Right. Let's just go like on a I don't even want educated or informed. Like if you're obviously again not Bicester, but let's say you're in Oxford, like
Yeah.
and you're walking down the street, would it be typical for you to see like businesses that are 100, 200 years old, or is it pretty much like everything's newish?
Put it like this. In in the last town I lived in Wales, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a company called Sidoli and Sons Ice Cream.
Okay.
Okay. And they've been around since
Sounds
the
charming.
1920s. They've been around since like 1920 odd, right?
That's like, yeah, that's within America's lifetime.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's I'm just
Um,
kind of that's what I'm curious about is like, I always think about like when it comes to structures, obviously we haven't been around that long compared to you guys. But in
yeah.
terms of like, how long a business has been around, everything's probably within a similar span of time, right? Like you don't have a ton of stuff that's like, oh yeah, this business is 1,000 years old.
Well, um, take the Royal Mint, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is in Llantrisant in the valleys.
Okay.
Uh, do you have polo mints in the States?
Is that a is that a food or do you mean like money?
A polo is is a little round mint sweet. Think like an
Like a
Altoid, I
Mentos?
guess.
Oh,
Yeah,
like an
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Strong peppermint, and they are circular, right?
Okay.
And marketed as the mint with the hole, right?
So a lifesaver.
No, a polo.
Well, sure. Our I'm trying to figure out what our analog is. That would be like a mint lifesaver.
Yes. So
Okay.
a polo was marketed as the mint with the hole.
Sure.
Clantricent is known as the hole with the mint.
I
Yeah,
like it.
isn't it good?
Yes.
And the Royal Mint has been operating since 886 AD.
Continuously.
Yes.
It's never shut down. It's just been running for literally
It's been a going
a
concern since
thousand years.
886 AD. It's where all of the coins in the UK are struck. All legally
Oh,
acceptable coins in the
okay.
UK are struck in the Royal Mint.
I'm confused. Are we talking about money or candy?
We're talking about money. It's a mint. It makes coins. The polo thing was just to bring it a little
Oh,
bit of local color, a bit of it. All right, fair enough. I zigged a little bit hard,
you
maybe.
did. A mint being around for that long that like makes money makes sense.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
thinking this candy had been around since 800, and I was like, Jesus
but yeah,
Christ.
look, there's a fuck ton of ancient businesses in the UK. Cambridge University Press has been around since the 1500s.
Sure, sure. Yep.
There's a bell manufacturing company, the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. They've been around since the 1500s. So yes, Twining's Tea, for example, they've been going since the 1700s. So
Okay.
yes,
So
there are.
somewhere, yeah, I mean, the 1700s, again, there's businesses here that are that old, but 1500s is probably about as
Yeah,
old as you're going to find like an actual like
yes.
business being, as opposed to like a government body.
We've got the Royal Mail, been around since the
That's a government
1500s.
body.
Well, not anymore, really. Kind of, it's
It was a government
okay,
body.
fine. All right, fine. How about a Shore Porters Society in Aberdeen? They've been around since 1498. How's that for you?
A shore porter?
They're called the Shore Porters Society. They're a removals company, haulage, storage,
Ah, okay. They've been
and
around
they've
since
been
when?
around 1498.
Ooh,
Yes, indeed.
interesting.
Yes.
Very
Does that
interesting.
sate your curiosity on that?
Yeah, I feel like basically on balance, probably you don't have like a ton of businesses that are like a bajillion years old. Like they're probably all within the past couple hundred years, but there are some that are old as fuck.
Well, no, there are more. I mean, there's Weavers of Nottingham, right? They are a fabric producing company that it would seem have been around since
Whew,
1130.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, I think you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying there aren't some, but I'm saying like it's not typical that your business is like when you're walking through town, like this shoe store's been here since 900 or like,
Oh,
things like that.
nah,
Like
nah.
there are, of
It's
course,
the
going to be some
yeah.
legacy places, but like in general, it's not typical for your stores to be older than
No,
America.
no.
That was the question I was asking. I
Okay.
was wondering if they're like everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, you can't throw a rock without hitting a
Uh,
shop that's been in business for
no,
800
no.
years.
I don't. Nah, that's not typical. I don't think.
Okay. But that is
Look,
interesting. Thank you for telling me about those because that is
that's fine.
fascinating to me.
Good. I'm glad
Everyone
to
is
hear it.
like,
Do you want?
what
Do you
does
want?
that have to do with a nursing home?
Do you want to hear more about Steerhouse
Tell
Home
me
for
who
Aged Men?
founded this nursing home. Let's get back to it.
Listen, that's by the by, but it was Henry Steele and Lucy Buckland. They founded this in 1874.
Okay.
And over the years, it kind of expanded its remit
Okay.
in that hey, women are now allowed. And
Hey,
um,
did they change the sign, you think?
I would hope so. If
For
anyone's in Rhode
aged
Island and you can
people.
pop along, I'd love to know.
Okay.
So let me tell you something about Steerhouse. And this is where the detective part starts to come into play, right? I want you to
Okay.
look at the tip of your pencil, start to take some
Yeah,
notes,
paying
right?
paying close attention here.
All right, 2005,
Mhm.
if you will. And as part of its kind of palliative care program, Steerhouse adopted a number of cats.
Sure.
Okay, a number of therapy cats, a number of comfort animals, stroke a cat. What the
Mhm.
fuck else are you going to do while you're eating your pudding?
It's
Um,
just we don't say stroke here, and every time you do, I'm like, ugh.
Why?
Why would you do that?
So
Ugh.
if you've got what do you do with
Pet it.
Walter then?
I pet my dog.
Give him a
I
little
don't.
stroke.
I'm not gonna stroke my dog.
Well, I've stroked your dog, even if you haven't.
Go on. Stroking cats.
So yeah, six cats. One amongst these cats was Oscar.
Oscar.
Oscar the cat. Oscar the
Ooh,
cat. Oscar was a tabby, kind of gray and white, lovely little cat. Um, Initially not particularly friendly, but he warmed up, of course, and he became a fixture of the hospital,
sure.
right? But here's the thing: Oscar started exhibiting very interesting behavior.
Okay.
Very fucking interesting behavior. Let me tell you something. Staff noticed some 6 months after getting Oscar in the place in Steer House. Staff noticed that he would often curl up quietly, still, silent, nuzzling up next to patients who were then about to die.
Oscar's a murderer.
That's certainly one potential, uh, you know, um, thread of reasoning here.
He's going and sitting on faces in the night.
He's yes, demanding to be stroked. Um, but check it. No, seriously, Oscar would enter a patient's room, curl up
Mm,
on the bed, often ignoring other patients in the room that he would otherwise have an affinity with.
okay.
And within hours of his visit, sometimes within 2 hours of Oscar nuzzling up next to this patient, that patient would then pass away.
Damn.
Right?
I would be so nervous if that cat came into my room.
Oh, yes, you
Like,
fucking
keep that
would.
cat away from me.
It became a kind of informal joke amongst the staff. Oh, Oscar's doing his rounds, you know? Oscar is
Oscar's the
touring.
Lucy Letby of the Steer House.
Oh, you didn't.
I'm sorry. It just
Sorry.
was right
Sorry.
there. That was
She's the
right there.
innocent. She's the innocent woman, Corrigan.
I don't know. Ask Oscar.
But look, there's way more to tell here.
Okay.
It was on the third floor mainly that Oscar's incredible talent started to make itself known, right? In a dementia unit known as the third floor. A
Ooh,
very calm,
ominous.
somewhat somber environment.
Sure.
A lot of the residents on that floor had advanced kind of degenerative conditions,
Hmm.
intensive kind of around the clock support. And as I said, while they were initially quite skeptical, the nurses on that ward often, then found themselves watching Oscar very carefully.
I
And
would imagine.
you'd think, yeah, of
Watch
course,
the death cat. That seems like a wise thing to do.
but not just nurses. This got the attention of doctors as well, right? To the
Hmm.
point where it became so reliable that when the staff noticed Oscar doing his thing, lingering near a particular patient, they would call the family in.
Oh, interesting.
It was that fucking reliable, right?
How many was it, do you know, before they were like, this feels like a thing?
Well, let me tell you this. Oscar came into the Steer House in 2005, right?
Mhm.
By 2010, Oscar had done his thing and predicted, air quotes, the deaths of more than 50 fucking patients.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, that is so many deaths. It must be like
Oh, yeah.
bananas working at that place. Like,
Oh, yeah. Do not
there
get
is,
attached.
I don't know if anyone who listens to us like works in hospice or any of those kinds of things, but my goodness, you
Yep.
you deserve your crown in heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like how just going into work every day and just people dying just all the
Well,
time.
well, look, how if we drive one point home on this fucking cast, it's It's a part of life. That's all it is. That's all
Exactly.
it
Yep.
is. Dust in the
But
wind,
it's
dude.
still going to be, difficult if you work in that kind of environment. I
Yeah.
remember when I was a freshman in college, we had to do this thing called City Serve, right? And it's like the whole school at my university, um, like your floor basically that you live on, because everyone lives in dorms. Your floor that you
Mm.
live on will go and do some sort of community service project.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like one year it was like digging up invasive ice plants at Back Bay or things like that. Sometimes it's like manual labor or whatever, and other times
Yeah.
it's like doing something with people. And
Yeah.
so my freshman year, we went to like an old folks home in town, and because they don't get like a ton of visitors necessarily, and they
No.
love having like a bunch of like 18-year-old kids come in and liven up the joint. We did like chair yoga with them and stuff like that. We literally just hung out.
Yes.
And there was one lady there who was like in her 90s, and she was still like very sharp and everything, but the phrase that she said, that like, and it's a common phrase, but this was the first time I'd ever heard it. She was like, I don't even buy unripe bananas anymore. Cause she was just like, any day I can fucking drop dead, like this is you gotta
uh,
be ready for that. And I just thought,
that's nice.
yeah, it was like such a like healthy little
Yeah.
like
It is. I find that very
perspective.
healthy. Yes.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I know I'm here, I'm present, I'm sharp, I'm having a good time, but like,
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know if I
I've
will
done something
last a
similar
week.
myself, as has Peter. I mean, when I was in school, I was in the choir, we would go and sing for the fucking, sing for the old
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Yeah, totally.
Peter's done it. He's gone and played his clarinet and sang for the old geezers. It's good shit. It's
Yeah.
good to do.
I feel
Um,
like at this point now, like the really old people are like almost like hippies. It's like you're gonna have to start going in there and playing like psychedelic rock or whatever for them to
yeah,
like, they're like, why are you
Skinner.
playing a clarinet? I'm not 120.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it is. It's fulfilling. It's
Yeah.
good to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyways, go on.
so listen, Oscar, back to Oscar.
Back to Oscar.
6 months old, more than 50 fucking patients by the time he was 5, right?
Hmm.
Um, and as I said, it wasn't just nurses who'd noticed this. An actual a physician, a doctor, Dr.
Sure.
David Dosa, who was fantastic specialism here, a geriatrician,
Nice.
whilst a professor at Brown University. Word reached him of Oscar, and although initially skeptical himself, of course he was
Yeah.
watching this fucking cat like a hawk. Wrote an article about him, right, in the New England Journal of Medicine.
So he didn't work there, but he came and he observed the cat.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay. He was like, I got to see what's going on here. Everybody's telling me
He
about this cat.
exactly and chronicled his Oscar's talents, and
Wow.
and eventually wrote a book. He's written a fucking book about this cat, called "Making Rounds with Oscar: The Extraordinary Gift of an Ordinary Cat." Um, the book, by all accounts, is a touching look at palliative care and end of life
Sure.
care and dementia, but using Oscar as a framing device.
Hmm.
Now, what Dr. Dosa observed, what he saw, was that Oscar almost had a ritual
Mm.
when he sensed the fucking cold finger of death stalking the halls. What he
Sure.
would do is he would enter the room, like I've said, often to the complete disregard of other people who he knew. He would climb onto the bed. He would curl up, typically around the patient's kind of legs or chest. He was still, he was patient, and he would stay right up until the very end, even if it took hours. He would just stay there.
Mm. Was it always
Oh,
within hours? It wasn't like days or anything like that. It's
no,
like,
no,
no,
no, no,
this
no.
is imminent.
Inevitable. Yes. Imminent
Okay.
death. Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of families came to find Oscar's presence comforting. They would view him,
I wouldn't.
simpletons. Well, no, but the simpletons among us might view him as like spirit animal,
Sure. Yeah.
something
Hmm.
fucking wanked like that. And
Right.
he was
I
Oscar.
mean, let's
Oscar
not
was,
call spirit animals white because that's actually a Native American practice. When white people say it, let's
oh
let's call
yeah,
it that.
listen, I speak from, the live, laugh, love fucking
Right.
contingent, right? Um, uh, but again, it's the accuracy, it's the consistency. Just to talk about some of these patients, right? Obviously, specifics are quite hard to come by, but there are specifics. Mary, for example, she was a Steerhouse resident with
Okay.
advanced Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
and her, Oscar did his thing, and the family were comforted. The family felt that Oscar's passing was a little that Mary's passing was a
Yeah.
little less lonely.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there was another resident who simply went by the name of Mr. T. No name, no full name,
Okay.
but his family found it quite difficult to come to terms with the presence of this death predicting cat by his side. But they
Right.
they came to see Oscar as a kind of a guardian angel, and when T's moments finally drew to an end,
Hmm.
Oscar came, curled up next to him on the bed, while the family were kind of sitting around there in a quiet vigil, and they described it as almost a spiritual kind of experience.
Right.
And the cases just mount up. Ruth,
Hmm.
advanced dementia. Oscar did its thing.
Were
Uh,
there like were all of these people basically so far gone that they like couldn't interact with the cat at this point? Like, or were there people who like the cat came in and they're like, I see.
I see you've got your detective hat on here,
Hmm.
Corrigan. Mm.
Yes.
So they what is beyond um what is inassailable here, right, is
Hmm.
the numbers involved, right?
Right. Hmm.
This happened all the fucking time.
And he
So
didn't go and do this normally. He didn't just like sit on people's
no, he
beds with
was,
them.
from what I can gather, he was normally an ambulatory cat. He would,
Okay.
he would prowl and play and whatnot. But when he
Hmm.
sat down next to you, mate, when he curled up,
Yeah.
dong. So what was going on? There have been theories. Was Oscar picking up on maybe patterns of a lack of movement in patients?
Mm-hmm.
Was he noticing, oh, hang on, they've gone very still, very quiet. Oh, I'm going to curl up next to them. Oh, bang, they're dead.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
it, was Oscar perhaps sniffing chemical changes
Right. Yeah.
in his, I'll say, victims? Was he picking up kind of biochemical signatures, dying
Sure.
cells giving off some kind of aura, some kind of presence,
Hmm.
undetectable by human eye or nose?
Sure.
But this is all speculation, Corey. So
So they,
I
oh, go ahead.
throw it to you right
Mm,
now, right?
yeah.
What do you think was going on there?
So there's those are like the basic theories. There's no like nobody has figured it out per se, and they've
Nope.
never had like another cat that did it.
Nope. I mean,
Are there other
Oscar
cats anywhere that do this? Is
Oscar
Oscar
left
the only
us.
cat that's ever done this?
Oscar's the most famous of the death sniffing cats.
Sure.
And he left us in 2022 at the ripe old feline age of 17.
Hey, nice.
Yes.
That's how old
Um,
Gaucho was too. Could have been
there you
hanging out.
go. And yeah, and he was the Methuselah of dogs, wasn't
Indeed.
he?
Indeed. Uh, interesting. I mean, yeah, that's a, I guess I would say, I'm just thinking about cats, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Often we
yeah.
joke about how like cats would eat us when we die and stuff
And
like
they
that,
will, they will, they would, and they
They
will.
certainly will. And so would dogs for that matter,
Oh,
but
of course.
any animal if you left them unfed would eat your body. But that makes me think like uh maybe there is a smell and the cats are kind of like, hey, what's going on over here? Is this about to expire? But also, I mean, I think the idea that like a cat would be, because cats are also notably standoffish compared to
Yes,
other
they are.
animals, the idea
Yes,
that
they are
like
known
someone
for it.
who like they're sorry, my mom was like yelling, but they're the idea that like a body is warm, but it's still feels
Yeah,
like it might,
yeah, yeah,
appeal to a
yeah,
cat.
yeah.
Like I think it is unlikely that the cat was like these people are going to die and they need comfort or anything like that,
Yes,
It's
that's one
probably
thing
not an emotional thing.
that I'm gonna completely disavow. That is not happening.
Yeah, I think it's, it's not an angel. It doesn't have the emotional intelligence to realize that a dying person needs comfort or anything like that.
Yep.
Um yeah, I guess my assumption would be that something about a dying body spoke to this cat that was normally standoffish but did like the warmth of human contact.
Yeah.
And so it was like, this human is not continuing to move or anything like that. I'm a chill
Yeah.
here.
Warm and still and safe and comfortable. It's a cat
Right.
magnet, isn't it? That's what that is.
Yeah, right. Like,
Um,
that makes sense.
my my instinct is that it's a mixture of that
Hmm.
and with the fact that everybody in Steerhouse was hours from death, right?
Right. Well, yeah,
That's
I mean
fucking
that's why
real.
I asked the question of like, does it not do this ever anywhere else or stuff
Yeah.
like that? Because yeah, if you're in a house where people are dying all the time,
Like weekly. We are talking Parkinson's,
yeah.
Alzheimer's, all manner of
Right.
just
It feels like, there may be a degree of kind of ignoring when he would just curl up on people's beds regularly.
yeah.
Like, the odds of this cat curling up on someone's bed who's about to die are not that slim.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I fall on this. And all
Hmm.
right, fair enough. By the time he was 5, he'd predicted 50 deaths. How many people
Hmm.
had he lain next to who got up the next
Right,
morning
who
and
are
just
just fine.
fucking, you know, went for a shit and ate their oatmeal?
Right, exactly. Those people were asleep. There was no one in the room to
Yes.
report the cat had been there. Because that's the other thing. Like, if the cat is looking for like a warm, motionless body, then like 90% of the time there's not going to be other people around when it
Yeah.
goes and it hangs out with them. So, and I'm
Yes.
just quite a few warm motionless bodies in
Yes.
like a hospice.
Yes. It occurs to me that there's one particular listener of ours who I'd like to weigh in here,
Ooh, okay.
and I think you know who it is.
Is it
Eileen, does
Eileen?
does
Eileen.
a with like 8 E's in the middle, does a body in the minutes and hours before death exude, anything below the human kind of rate of perception?
Mm,
Is there anything, do cats or dogs or other animals they have perception beyond what, color and smell and
yeah,
whatever beyond
obviously.
ours,
Yep.
So is that it? Were they sniffing death somehow?
Mm, I like that question.
Uh, what caused me to laugh about 30 seconds ago was it suddenly hit home. Our openings to this podcast are very different, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
What if a cat could smell death? That's my input here this week. Doop
Oh,
de
and I'm
doo.
happy to have you, Marco.
That's all right then.